Too Close to Call is a sports talk radio show brought to you by Kevin Mahalik, featuring commentary on the week's biggest sports news and events and engaging behind-the-scenes player interviews. While specializing in Philadelphia sports, Too Close to Call will also discuss issues and events happening on a national scale. Too Close to Call airs Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is Kevin Mahalik, and welcome to the Sunday, October 6th edition of Too Close to Call here on USALA Media and USALA Radio. Now, I understand you guys like looking at my pretty face on Facebook Live, but unfortunately on the weekends, we don't have the video to run, so it is just the audio. So I appreciate you guys listening on USALAmedia.com out there. Like I said, Too Close to Call, your sports talk radio show here at USALA Radio. And today is a special edition here because we actually have a guest co-host joining us for NFL football talk today. And that is a buddy of mine who played for William and Mary way back when. God, you're old now, aren't you, man? But thanks for joining me here, Gareth Hissong. Appreciate you coming on.
Whoop, whoop. Getting old, but still young at heart. And hey, I'm happy to be here joining you on the USALA Media platform.
Yeah, thanks
Always
for coming
like following
man.
Everything you do. It's great to be a part of it.
Appreciate it very much so. Obviously, you being a former football player, I thought it'd be right up your alley to come in, talk some NFL football, let the listeners know what's going on. So before we dive into that, dude, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let the listeners know why they should listen to you and why you actually know what the heck you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So went to William and Mary. Got recruited as a scholarship defensive end. After the redshirt year, they wanted more depth at tight end, so moved over to tight end.
Nice.
First time ever playing tight end in my football career. On some very successful teams. Junior year, we lost in the semifinals by 1 point. In the playoffs, the Division I AA. FCS, if you will. And then senior year, had the first time in school history ranked number 1 in the country. So
nice.
Played with some great programs with some great players.
Very cool. And you're actually doing a little bit of media yourself, right, within football nowadays.
Correct. Yeah, for the last 6 years, I've been calling high school games, doing play-by-play and color. Mixing it up, doing a little bit of both.
Nice.
That's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Getting into the media world and seeing how that's a lot more difficult than the pros make it seem.
So you've been breaking down film and everything along those lines, just as I have, to bring some quality content to the listeners out there.
Absolutely. And it's after playing college, I'm much more of an NFL fan.
That's why I wanted to bring you on here, talk a little bit of NFL, and that's what we'll be doing here for the next, 45 minutes, 50 minutes as we head up to kickoff here on Sunday. So what we decided to do for you listeners out there, once again, is instead of kind of breaking down game by game, result to result, like I have done in the past, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a little pause here. We're going to look at the squads now that we're about 4 games in. We're starting to get a feel for what these teams are actually going to be like this year, and maybe not, what the expectations were coming into the year. A little bit of Jekyll and Hyde with some squads. But this first segment, we're going to dive right in, do the AFC. We'll break it down, do AFC first segment, next segment we'll do NFC, and then on the tail end, we'll hit you with some entertainment picks, some fantasy football, and we'll get you ready for kickoff that way. So how's that sound, Gareth? You ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Fired up. Here on a Sunday, getting ready for kickoff.
That's it, man. AFC East. New England Patriots, 4-0 last week. They actually got challenged by the Buffalo Bills, dude. I did not see that one coming at all.
Well, you have to think with these division games, don't necessarily throw out the records, but it's always these teams.
The Bills, dude.
These teams know each other a lot better than going out of conference and out of division. And with the Bills, I'm big on the Bills. I really think they're much improved. You like
Josh Allen?
I like Sean McDermott. I like the head coach up there. He's a William and Mary alum himself. He failed as a
defensive coordinator here in Philadelphia, man. I don't know.
He did good things here. He did great things for the Carolina Panthers.
He was good in Carolina.
And I think he's doing a great job of, it takes time.
What year is he in now?
Changing a
year
culture.
3, 4, something like that?
I think it's year 3.
He's finally getting his footing, trying to figure it out a little bit.
And it takes some time. they have a great defense. Love their defense. And you look at what they did to Tom Brady, what he threw for 150 yards, pretty much shut down the rushing game, 74 yards on the ground that game. And it's just tough with Josh Allen. I mean, the guy's got a lot of talent at quarterback, but
throw the ball a quarter mile.
But when you right, he's got a strong arm, great arm. But it's just the inconsistency, right? 3 interceptions. How are you going to beat the Patriots with 3 interceptions? And then Barkley threw another one, so 4 total interceptions.
Yeah,
and really a defensive battle.
I don't know, man. It's just I'm looking at their schedule, right? The first 3 wins: Jets, Giants, Bengals. So basically, to me, 3-0 there is like, yeah, but no, right? So the Patriots was really that first game where it was a true test. And like I said, they answered a lot more questions than I thought they would correctly on Sunday to only lose by 6. But looking forward, their next 4, they get the Dolphins and the Redskins, who honestly they will probably beat if they play like they did the first 3 weeks, but then the Titans and Eagles. So I think you're right, man. Honestly, looking at the schedule, they're going to stick around. I had them in that 6, 7, 8 win bracket, I believe, in some of the preview podcasts that we did for 2Close2Call on the side. So I may up that a little bit, man. I may see 7, 8, 9 in their future.
I can see 10 wins for this team. I'm very high on them.
10 wins is a playoff team,
I think the defense is great. I think Josh Allen will continue to get better. And Frank Gore, the ageless wonder, he can do it on the ground.
Let me ask you this really quick. 0-3 Jets, 0-4 Dolphins. Which one gets a win first?
I got to go Jets.
You got to go Jets,
Dolphins
right?
Are just, I mean,
but either way, basically, you're
there.
saying 10 wins for the Bills because you're seeing 4 wins against both of those teams, both the Patriots and the Bills, 4-0. And then they're 0-1, so, if they win against Patriots, that's already 5 wins, man. 4-2 in the division either way is what I think Buffalo's going to go worst case. Unless Sam Darnold comes back from his mono and stops making out with all those chicks up in Manhattan during the night, and stays out of trouble.
Well, and that's again where the trouble becomes. I think, again, with the division, your guys a lot better. Look at the last few years when the Dolphins were able to upset the Patriots. It seems like every year the Dolphins get at least 1 win against the Patriots. It's absurd.
Well, that game's already happened. It's usually in Miami. It was week 2 this year. It was too early. It was like, God damn. They didn't let them have that letdown game yet. And they had Antonio Brown. That was the week Antonio Brown was playing down there, dude. It's wild. So, obviously, you see New England winning the division still. Moving on, that would be your prediction at this time?
Guaranteed.
Do you think they'll be the 1 seed? Them in Kansas City? I know we're jumping around here a little bit, but
I do, and it goes back to what I said. New England's defense is incredible. I don't even need to get to Tom Brady and talk about what they can do. They can win so many ways offensively. They're just incredible with how they scheme game to game, find ways to exploit weaknesses, and magnify their strengths.
People are saying this could be Belichick's best defense.
What is so great about them is how they've got plenty of individual talent. And I mean, Dante Hightower didn't even play last week,
right?
And they had an incredible performance. But it's just amazing how they can all put it together and play team defense, even though they have individuals that are very talented.
Or even not talented. Somehow Patrick Chung's still playing for them. He was awful in Philadelphia.
And that's the coaching feat that I really see year in and year out with Belichick, is being able to get everybody to work together and put it all together at the same time.
I agree with you. So, Patriots and Bills, it's going to be those two battling for the AFC East for the rest of the year and down the stretch, because as we've seen, Miami is tanking and the Jets just aren't very good. I think that's what that pretty much is a good way to sum up the AFC East there, with the Bills being a potential surprise playoff team. But as we jump around here, like we said, continuing through the AFC, we'll go right on over to the North in what is a very competitive division. And during the preview pods, we thought it would be one of the most competitive divisions there is. And the 2-2 Cleveland Browns coming off a huge victory at the Baltimore Ravens, who fell to 2-2. Now with Cleveland having that tiebreaker early on, and then the Monday Night Football game this past week. Your 0-3 Steelers, 0-3 Bengals. God, the NFL Monday night, dude, just continues to throw out gems. But Steelers win, improved to 1-3.
You got to wonder what it is between the NFL and ESPN that they schedule these Monday night games versus what they're giving
they
the
schedule
Thursday
too far
night
in
with Fox coming in.
But they have to. You can't just throw in a Monday due to the scheduling. I understand that now that I'm saying it out loud. But, come on, dude. These in the Thursday night games, it's just outrageous. But I had Cleveland in the preview pod. And through 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was not feeling very confident about that pick. I mean, Baker Mayfield talking to a lot of people in the media saying, hey, you threw us in the trash. We'll remember that. I thought they would lose that game in Baltimore the way Lamar Jackson was playing. So he's throwing it in my face, man. I picked him to begin with. I kind of jumped off just because it's Cleveland and that's what you do. But I don't know, man. Are they improved enough to get to double-digit wins?
I think that's a little far-fetched. I think, it takes time to change. Really, I've been on the Cleveland, not bandwagon, but I've been a supporter. I think their roster has come a long way in the last 3-4 years.
Sure.
And if you look at that defensive front now, they get after people. And it's kind of been the recipe for success. When you're beating Tom Brady, like the Giants did, they were coming after him with getting home with the front four, and it's all based around that defensive front. And the Browns have built themselves in a very similar way. So they have a lot of talent on defense. They have that front four that gets after people. And defensively, when you're staying in the game, you have a chance.
If Baker doesn't turn the football over, makes a couple plays late, you can win the football game. And for you Cleveland Brown fans out there, and for people like myself who picked them, who are very jumpy on the bandwagon, maintain calm through the month of October, because the next couple of weeks are a murderer's row, so to speak, of ball games. Because I know the 49ers coming into the year didn't look that tough. We'll get to them later in this episode, but they're currently undefeated. And then they get the Seahawks and then the Patriots. So the next 3 weeks for the Brownies could prove to be a little bit tough. And even if they're staring at 3-4, hang in there, because down the stretch, they get the Bengals twice, the Steelers twice, the Dolphins in there, and some winnable games. But this next little stretch, man, may tell you a lot about what we're getting out of Cleveland.
Yeah, I think Cleveland has, as far as staying in games and being successful, they have so many weapons on offense. And what they did last week with the Ravens, I think the biggest part was they didn't rely on Baker Mayfield to win games. And they shouldn't. He's certainly capable of making great throws and keeping plays alive and doing exciting things, whether it's through the air or on the ground. But you can't rely on him to come in and win games week in and week out. You really have to have a supporting cast around him. Look at what Nick Chubb did on the ground last week. That's the kind of stuff you need to do to be successful if they have a chance to get a double-digit wins, which I don't think they're there yet.
I know it's early on in his career, but Baker Mayfield, what do you see as his future? I don't know if you want to compare him to another quarterback, but do you think he's a top echelon guy or a very good quarterback? How do you feel on Baker as we're 20 games in here to his career?
Yeah, if I had to compare him, I would say, Russell Wilson-esque, but I don't think he's that caliber. I think he still has a long way to go with going through progressions and finding, getting off his first couple reads and finding guys that are open and anticipating things a little bit more. And he really needs to improve that because, yes, he's athletic and he's fun to watch, but he ran a 4.8 40.
Right.
And that's just not, that's not that fast.
Is he the best quarterback in the division? Now that I'm rolling through it as of today, obviously with Big Ben hurt, Andy Dalton, Lamar Jackson.
You could make that argument. Absolutely.
Right.
It's tough for
it's
me.
Kind of wild.
It's tough for me to be on board with that, with Mason Rudolph playing the way he's. No, but I could be on board with that. I've just never been a big Andy Dalton guy.
Sure, I agree with that. The only other one I could say, and I want to get your take on it, is Lamar Jackson and kind of what we've seen. Obviously, the last 5 weeks this year, the first 4 this year, the win-loss record's pretty good, but the style of football, do you think it transitions over the course of 16, 18, 20 weeks?
If he can be smart and not take a lot of licks, I do, because that's a whole nother wrench that defenses has to plan for.
Sure.
When you have someone that is
He's
that
pretty
active
slippery,
on the ground.
man. He hasn't taken a ton of pops.
And that's what I think, that's why I hesitate to, that's what it comes down to, Baker or Lamar Jackson right now. And it's
round
tough to
one
say
went to
either
Cleveland,
way.
man.
I mean, I really think Lamar Jackson is a very talented quarterback. I think he can make some incredible throws.
I'm not sure he can throw it enough, though. I know he can make the incredible throw. He's got the arm, but I'm not sure fourth quarter on the road in December that he's going to be able to put it into those tight windows on a fourth quarter comeback. But maybe he'll prove me wrong, man. But I'm just, until it happens.
And I don't feel that way about Baker yet either.
Yeah, so that one of them's going to have to do it. Somebody's got to win the division. And, you're 1-3 Steelers, 0-4 Bengals. Cincinnati, I think, is not very good. And Pittsburgh's had the injuries. Big Ben, they're trying to figure it out with Mason Rudolph, who you touched on now. But I know you have some Steelers history in you, being a Steelers fan growing up in kind of the middle of Pennsylvania. What's your vibe on the Steelers, man? Give me your spiel here for all the Steelers fans listening currently.
It's been tough to get a read on them. I really thought they'd be okay. It's tough. I mean, you lose, 4 of your best guys with, AB, Le'Veon Bell, Big Ben is out, and you also lose Shazier to that injury.
Sure.
It's tough to replace all that.
There were big hopes in Pittsburgh, though. They were the problems. They got rid of the problems. It was addition by subtraction,
which I believe in, but I don't think I think Pittsburgh has done a great job of being able to quail things that are getting out of control. I think Antonio Brown. And look at what he's done, over the last year.
They got out of that at the right time, man.
I mean, imagine what he did behind the scenes that we didn't hear about in Pittsburgh.
So I'm sure this attitude or personality isn't just popping out of nowhere.
So for them to keep that quiet, I think they did a great job. And
what do you have this year, man? Do you think they're still in it? 1-3, 7-9, 9-7? How you feeling?
I do. Again, defensive front is great. They got a lot of talent up there. I've had issues with the back end of their defense and them being able to really, stop receivers and play the ball well. In years past, they've been in position and haven't played the ball well. This year, I think they've been a little bit more out of position than I'd like to see. Safety Sean Davis hasn't been around. He's had injury issues. With the addition of Kirkpatrick, I think that's great.
It's going to come down to these divisional games.
It is, and that's where I feel comfortable with these guys really knowing each other. But Lamar scares me. I mean, you really have to plan differently,
right? When you have
that threat of him on the feet with his feet, and I do think they have a chance. I think Mason Rudolph is very good. I mean, he played great ball when he was with Oklahoma State, right? I mean, this isn't the Big 12.
Hell, even in Heinz Field, my man, he lit up Pitt when they played Oklahoma at Pitt. He threw for like 4 hundo and 5 tutties. So he loves playing at Heinz Field, man. Always has.
And this isn't the Big 12, but that I like the guy that can take that risk and throw it downfield. But again, he's going to need that cast to come up and help him. His receiver's going to have to be there for him. Washington's going to have to make catches. Juju Smith is going to have to get open. And the ground game is going to have to work. I think, what we saw last Monday against the Bengals. The Bengals have a lot to get together. So it's, it's tough.
They're not very good, but it was nice to see as a Pittsburgh fan.
It was nice to see how big of a win and get back on, get away from that losing snide we had. But it really seemed like we had to scheme up a lot on offense to be that successful. So if we can do that week in and week out.
Put it on Mike Tomlin.
I mean, there was a lot of Samuels. There was a lot of Connor. Had both those backs in there at the same time.
Yeah.
I think they could keep up, not necessarily the same kind of schemes, but to keep those guys in there at the same time is tough for defenses to scheme for. And I'm a big believer that no matter how much you throw the ball to the backs out of the backfield, it's not enough.
Why so? Go on that a little bit more.
Creating space. Everything you do as a receiver, trying to get open and create space, and when you're coming from the backfield, you already have a natural cushion and room to work with.
Usually it's a little bit of a mismatch, too, on a linebacker or safety, depending on, what defense they're in or how you line up. So it's going to be interesting to see, dude. And that's one of the more competitive divisions in this conference, as well as this next one currently with all 4 teams in the AFC South sitting at 2-2 through 4 weeks. And the storylines are kind of insane in this division. I mean, we have the Colts at 2-2 with the Andrew Luck emergency retirement, Jacoby Brissett being thrown in there. The Jacksonville Jaguars start 0-2. We got a Nick Foles injury, and all of a sudden Gardner Minshew is the talk of the town this year. He's the toast of the NFL right now. And then your Tennessee Titans and Houston Texans, Old Faithful there with Mariota and Watson, and same old problems. Houston can't block anybody. Tennessee's just not very good. So take me through your thoughts on the South, man. Who's really stood out to you so far? Obviously, with everybody neck and neck. What are you thinking as we move into, the second lap here in the NFL season?
Really wide open. The Texans, I love Deshaun Watson, what he can do. They have a lot and DeAndre Hopkins, I think
Hopkins is killing my fantasy team right now. I just want to throw that out there 2 weeks in a row. He's been brutal.
if you put him around, you put the ball around him, he's going to find a way to
First 2 weeks, he killed it. Last 2 weeks, he's been a butt.
The Colts, I just don't see any consistency. I was really surprised to see what they did last week in that loss to the Raiders, and I just think it's going to be some
Oakland.
I think the game was worse than what the score showed, and I think I had a little bit more faith in Jacoby Brissett. Not necessarily this year, but when he started to get some playing time.
He's thrown the ball well. I think I saw a stat. He's got multiple touchdowns in every game so far, so he hasn't been, the only problem. If he's been a problem.
With T.Y. Hilton not playing last game, I'm curious to, is that like a major blanket that
we've seen here in Philadelphia how a deep threat can change the offense for you. So not having that on the field can certainly make a difference.
And then Jacksonville.
What do you think of Gardner Minshew, man? The mustache wonder of the world. You think he can extend kind of what's going on? Is Nick Foles going to get his job back?
I love all the memes on the internet. He's like the new Chuck Norris.
That's what I'm saying, man. He's the toast, dude. He can't go anywhere. The internet needs Gardner Minshew to be the quarterback of the Jaguars.
I do think he can keep it going. I think so. He comes from Washington State. And Mike Leach is the head coach out there.
It's beautiful.
He was at Texas Tech for a while. He's a Western PA guy.
We played his breakdown of the mascots last Saturday on the show on the radio. It's fantastic.
His interviews are unlike any other.
So Minshew coming from that tree is perfect.
And so you see, and they had a lot of success last year at Washington State. And then this year, they've had a rough start. And one thing he said last week was that his players seem soft this year.
Okay.
And a lot of the players are back, so it's not there aren't a lot of new players coming into that system. So it's not like a young guys.
Sure,
it's a lot of the returning starters, but they're missing the Minshew,
right?
And I think
the X factor.
Anyone that's going to take a pool of Jack Daniels and take a hammer to their hand to get a red shirt year,
he can quarterback my team.
He's a tough-minded individual.
That's it. Dude.
So I think he has a lot of grit. I think just to see some of the drop off at Washington State, guys rallied around him. He was a leader there, and now to hear that they're soft, I'm sure he had some things to do with that. They really believed in him, and to see how Jaguars are rallying around him now, I think he can stay there. But again, look at what Leonard Fournette did last week. I also think that Minshew is another one of those guys where he's capable, but let's temper some expectations.
Need some help.
He's going to need some help around him. He can't be the focus.
You got to leave him in though
week in and week out
till he struggles. I mean, even when Foles comes back, if it was next week, I think you'd leave Minshew run around for a few more weeks there. But the news cycle that's dominating Duval is what to do with Jalen Ramsey. Now, obviously, here local to Philadelphia, we've heard all about it because everybody wants him in town. So, not even saying in relationship to the Eagles, but just in general, do you think Jalen Ramsey ends up being moved, or do you think they ultimately keep him? And what's your take on that whole situation, man?
You really have to look at that relationship in the locker room because the players love him. And if he has an issue with coaches, that's...
Rumor is it's him and Coughlin apparently don't get along, or something was said, but everybody else doesn't mind him. But him and Coughlin, something was said where he's not getting over it. I don't know what it was. But.
Coughlin came a long way when he was with the Giants, from being a no-nonsense guy to being a little bit more lenient, and that went a long way with his players. I think in the last few years, it's become even more where coaches really have to change their mindset and coach to, I guess the millennial mentality.
Right.
Where everybody wants to be their own franchise. It's all about the individual.
It's all about the brand.
Before it is, the team. So I can see how Coughlin and him, can butt heads, but he is a talented player, and I wouldn't want to get rid of him.
They turned down 2 first-rounders for him because they were going to be too close to number 32. People are speculating that would either be the Chiefs or the Birds, obviously on the end trying to pull him, but that's not enough. So the price is very, very high to get Jalen Ramsey out of Jacksonville. But going to be crazy to follow this division. Like we said, everybody's squared up at 2-2. A lot of divisional games coming up, so maybe one or
Tennessee,
two.
I think also some inconsistency there. Again, you need Derrick Henry. You need the ground game. You need someone to help out Mariota, because Mariota, a little bit, is just like the other teams and their quarterbacks, inconsistent.
Sure. And last division in the AFC seems to be a little bit of a runaway. The Kansas City Chiefs, 4-0. Still the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes still playing at an MVP level, even putting up more stats than last year in some categories from his MVP season. The Denver Broncos 0-4. We found out they're not very good, so don't be looking for a turnaround there. And, your middle two of the Chargers and Raiders. A little bit of a surprise to see the Raiders at 2-2 there, in my opinion. And the Chargers at 2-2 without Melvin Gordon makes a little bit more sense. But personally, I still think the Chargers will, kind of outlast Oakland and fighting for a wild card spot there, but the Chiefs are going to run away with this division out west.
They are. I think it's Andy Reid is Andy Reid, right? He's that evil genius on offense, and with the players and talent and the guys he has that he can scheme up different plays, that's always fun to watch.
Sure.
Great to see LaShawn McCoy getting out there, getting some touches as well.
Keeps pulling in these guys, man. Andy Reid going to the well. Shady McCoy, another one, dude. But I don't know. Oakland, after everything that they've gone through, I'm rooting for them. I don't know if there's enough there ultimately to kind of sustain success over 16 weeks. And the Chargers with Phillip Rivers and some of their talent, I think, prevails. But, I was
a little surprised with Mike Mayock and how he brought in AB and signed Vontaze Burfict, even Incognito, right? I mean, but I love it. You want that kind of mentality on the offensive line. So it's a very fine line. You want these guys that are high elite players, but with the issues that Burfict has, and now being suspended for the season, the issues you saw with AB, and you're just not sure. I'm surprised that Mike Mayock made those moves.
Sure. Because
I also think he's kind of more of a no-nonsense guy.
Has been, right?
So I'm not sure what made him feel comfortable making those moves. But I'm pulling for him. I like Derek Carr. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's as consistent as I would like. But I do root for those guys and Raider Nation. And, and then you got Rivers, right? And Melvin Gordon going to make an appearance this week.
Showing up.
See how he comes back. Eckler, the Eckler era. He's been amazing.
He was killing it for my fantasy team.
So, the Chargers certainly can make some noise. The Broncos, never been a big Flacco fan. I will say that I think he's been greatly improved from year one. Each year he improves. And that, no interception.
He's done
postseason he had was
over
incredible.
The hill.
But, I'm not going to rely on him. I think the Broncos are still trying to put a lot together. You're not going to see much from them.
I guess at the end of the day, dude, wrapping up this first segment here, can you see anybody besides the Chiefs or Patriots coming out of the AFC at the end of the year?
No, I don't.
Right?
I don't.
It's a shame, but it truly seems kind of how it started, the year and how last year ended. But rematch Chiefs-Patriots, and it's something I want to see as a football fan. I think they're the best two teams, so why wouldn't you want to see that as the title game?
Exactly. I think you're absolutely right. It's going to come down to those two teams, and it's even tough to say it's not going to be the Patriots.
Till it's not.
It's all about getting into the playoffs. And
it's all
giving
about
yourself a chance.
Lining up on sides and not off sides, and maybe you win a conference. I don't know. Did that happen? Was that a thing? But thanks everybody for listening here to the first segment here at USALA Media, USALA Radio. Thanks Gareth for hanging out with us. We'll pause here for a brief break from one of our sponsors, and on the other side, we'll be coming back talking NFC football.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 0.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Welcome back, everybody, to this next segment of Too Close to Call, your sports talk radio show here at USALA Media and USALA Radio. I'm your co-host today, Kevin Mahalik, joined by my friend Gareth Hissong. Gareth, thanks again for coming in, man, talking NFL. Appreciate it.
Happy to be in the house.
Absolutely. And if you guys have been listening the entire time, you heard that segment number one was all about the AFC, and thus, this segment, we're talking NFC football, baby, and we're going going to start right here at home with your NFC East. You got the Dallas Cowboys currently atop the division at 3-1, coming off a loss to the New Orleans Saints, the local Philadelphia Eagles and New York Giants at 2-2, and then the Washington Redskins at 0-4, man. So it seemed like a two-horse race between the Cowboys and Eagles. Are you taking anything out of this Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes? All of a sudden the Giants are 2-2, man. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think he's a good player. I liked him coming out of Duke. I don't know if I agreed with the way they jumped up to get him at what, number 6?
Number 6. First of all, how do you feel about the nickname Danny Dimes?
What do you want to call it?
Oh, it's horrible, dude. Danny Dimes? Are you kidding me? I don't know what we're calling him here, but like Danny Dimes, we got Dilfer's Dimes. Like, I don't know, dude. The guy shows up wearing like button
Danny Dimes, throwing dimes on the field, picking up dimes off the field.
I'm saying we could come up with something better. I don't have it right now. I'm not a Giants fan, so all you Giants fans listening out there, get in the comments, get on 2Close2Call Instagram. Let me know. We got to get something better than Danny Dimes.
We'll ideate on that for a little bit. But I like Danny Dimes. I think, look where he comes from with Duke. The head coach down there was the same guy that worked with the Mannings. And
Cutcliffe, I believe his name is.
And he's got a great pedigree, and the guy is going to be able to get through reads. He's got the ability to make the throws. And with the team he has now, he's going to have to buy some time, move around. Now, again, I say that thinking about my expectations.
Right.
I'm not saying he's leading them to the promised land this year. I just think he's a capable quarterback and going to continue to get better and better and could eventually be your franchise guy.
So doing some film breakdown on Daniel Jones, this was the Buccaneers game I was looking at, but it was very similar to his scouting report coming out of college, but he excels in half-field reads. So when you cut the field in half and you basically go high-low in like a flood concept, he's excellent. But when you have to scan the entire field and basically unregister and re-register information mentally of something completely different that the defense is doing, he still struggles with that. So the quickness in the reads is something that he's going to have to get better at, but when you simplify the game for him, he's got all the tools to be successful.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what I mean with expectations is you don't expect him to go out there and have the NFL game completely slow, going from the ACC to the NFC East. I don't expect it to just completely slow down for him and be an easy game. You do have to change the game for him and game plan around his abilities right now, but that's where he'll grow and get better, and he'll be able to do that going forward.
I had them at 4 or 5 wins, but already with 2, they're probably looking at the over there. But at the top of the division, man, 3-1, the Dallas Cowboys. How are you feeling about Dallas? Do you think the start is for real, or were the teams they played those first 3 weeks just cupcakes for them?
So real quick, the Giants, I don't have a lot of expectations for them this year as far as playoff. And a lot of it is because of their defense. I don't have a lot of faith in their defense, whereas the Cowboys, I do believe in their defense.
Sure.
I do think they can get it done.
Their linebackers are so impressive.
They're 4 deep right now, and they're all healthy. So I think that's great for them. Dak is, I don't think he's a special player.
$40 million a year.
Because of market value and where the market is, I'm fine with that.
You think he gets more than Goff and Wentz?
Eventually, when it comes up.
You think so?
They're going to pay. I mean, what he's done.
I know they're going to pay him, but do they pay him more than Goff and Wentz, or do they put him in that Goff, Wentz, Matt Ryan category? Like, is he going to be the highest paid quarterback in football?
I don't see him being the highest paid.
Right?
I mean, I see him being close, but Jerry Jones would do it. I mean, he would, I believe in
the other reason he's asking for 40, and I talked about this briefly in the past, but is because of his 4th round status. To this point in his career, he's made like $25 million less than Wentz and Goff. So he's basically looking to make that money up. And how do you do that? Well, it's $5 million a year over 5 years, which puts you to $40 million a year instead of 35. So total compensation at that point would be even. But then, like you said, you look at it and you go, wow, man, $40 million highest paid quarterback? I'm not so sure. So I understand both sides of the coin there in regards to his number being at 37, 38 a year.
I think what's helped him the most is the start that they've had.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, each week he's been boosting his value. But who's he played? Giants, Redskins, Dolphins.
Right.
Your first 3 wins. You look immaculate, sure. But then you play your first good team in the Saints, who I have a lot of faith in with their defense and, even their offense is
same old Dak.
So I think Dak is he better keep playing well if he wants to get that $40 million.
So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting, but I do think it is a race between the Cowboys and Eagles down the stretch. I think it will come down to probably their two head-to-head matchups, which both occur later in the year. So I think it's a two-horse race. I think the Giants are a nice little story now, but I certainly don't see them turning into a 10-6 ball club.
No, I don't see them having a ton of success this year. And even the Cowboys, Zeke is Zeke. Their offensive line is great, so they're going to have to continue to pound the rock and be successful there. On the perimeter, I like Amari Cooper, but I don't know if he's a true number one. And if you're focusing your defense on him in the backside of the defense, I do think if you put it up around him, he's one of those guys that can go up and make a play.
Sure.
But I see him as, a low wide receiver 1, very high wide receiver 2.
Yeah, and they're going to have to pay him at some point too. So a lot of questions in Dallas on who they're paying and how much and who's going to be together, but certainly another good ball club down there this year in Big D. But moving here to the NFC North, another quality division that we've seen across the board. It seems to be all 4 teams are better than we thought, maybe. Green Bay at 3-1, Detroit at 2-1-1. I think both have, kind of outpaced my expectations thus far. And then Minnesota and Chicago squarely in the mix at 3-1 and 2-2. So where do you stand on the NFC North? Has your opinion changed after these first 4 games? Because I think Green Bay is better than I thought they were.
Before we hop into this, I have to note, I think it's hilarious that we didn't even touch on the Redskins.
No, we're not touching on it. We're a limited amount of time here. We only got an hour. We're passing over these boys who are looking at draft picks already here through 4 weeks.
The Green Bay defense, right, has been the talk of the town.
Oh, yeah.
In Titletown so far, which is surprising when you have Aaron Rodgers back there, but I'm anxious to see if they can keep that pace up on defense. This is a fun race. I think this division is fun to watch. I actually have high hopes for the Vikings. I really like the Vikings roster.
Kirk Cousins,
if it wasn't for Kirk Cousins,
it's amazing. He's holding them back. He really is.
A ton of faith in that team. Dalvin Cook's had an amazing start to the year.
Cook's been impressive. I was so pissed when they took him in the second round. I think like 3 picks before the Birds took Sidney Jones. I think they were going to take Cook if he was still on the board and not Jones.
And if you look at Chicago, is just that defense.
How do you feel about Mitchell Trubisky? Now, we have the shoulder injury kind of week to week. We'll probably see some Chase Daniel. But as a whole, healthy across the board, there's mixed reviews on Mitchell Trubisky. My other co-host, Pags, everybody knows about, is not a huge fan. I think it's still to be determined. But what's your take on Mitchell?
Oh, Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of him when he was at North Carolina. He was throwing dimes down to Mac Hollins.
Yeah, man.
And Ryan Switzer. So I always thought he had all the tools to be a good quarterback. I think he's another guy that when you saw him go down and Chase Daniel came in, Chase Daniel.
Yes, no S, but Tony Romo loves the Daniels.
So when Chase Daniel came in, I thought that offense was a lot smoother. They started clicking and their pace was a lot better than what you see with
It's truly amazing how sometimes when the backup comes in, not just Chase, I mean, it happened with the Eagles with McCown for like 5 plays, but just taking the on-time check down, staying in front of the sticks is just sometimes that's all you need as an offense. And
just take a profit, right?
Like,
just take a profit.
Never go broke taking a profit.
I do like Mitchell Trubisky. I think that, again, though, he's just a young guy that's his expectations. You just have to expect that, still early in his career, we see these quarterbacks, a few guys come in and they just blow it out of the water. The first year, you got Mahomes down there in Kansas City, and everyone wants someone to be like him. But you still have to expect these guys are young, and it's going to take some time for them to develop into what your final expectations are.
Right.
So it's understandable to see that Chase Daniel can come in, take those profits, and click with that offense. But with the defense you have there and some of the weapons you have on offense, I'm fine with Trubisky. I think he'll be a good quarterback.
Yeah, I think the division is still the Bears to lose. They lost the opening week to the Packers, which hurts because now Green Bay is going to be right there at the thick of it and the end of it, and possibly could have the tiebreaker with another victory. But at 3-1, winning 3 straight with that defense, only giving up 45 total points in 4 weeks, I still think they're staring at 11-5, 12-4, and knocking on the door for home field with some of these other teams at the end
But really
of the year.
a fun division to watch. The Lions and the Vikings aren't going to go quietly. So
sure.
It'll be interesting.
The Lions have outperformed, I think, expectation and realistic expectation moving forward. I think they're about a 500 team. But 2-1-1, beating the Birds, that's a good start for them. You're absolutely right. Moving on to the NFC South now. We touched on a few of these teams in passing previously, but the New Orleans Saints, even with the Drew Brees injury, Teddy Bridgewater's come in and won 2 straight. They're being chased by the Tampa Bay Bucks and Carolina Panthers, both at 2-2 at the quarter pole here in the NFL, with Cam Newton being out for the foreseeable future in Carolina. Nobody really knows when to expect him back. And the Atlanta Falcons, a team I had as a possible playoff team at the end of the year, not looking great, man. 1-3, and that one win being Philadelphia. They're a player 2 away from being 0-4.
Yeah, let's get them out of the way. The Falcons are I can't understand how they just can't get anything going.
I'm with you, but
and then the Panthers don't have a lot of faith in them to be consistent enough to make the playoffs.
Kyle Allen's been fun to watch, though. That play he had on J.J. Watt last Sunday, spinning around, making a throw, dude, he's been better, sure, than I thought. When Cam Newton went down, I said, oh, okay, they're done. Like last year, ending 2-6, starting out slow. It's just, I don't know. I always expect more.
That was a great play, just survival mode. You see J.J. Watt coming at you, just find a way to get out any way possible. But you're right, that was fun to watch. I don't have much expectations for the Panthers. Tampa Bay, I have an issue with consistency with Jameis Winston, but with guys like Chris Godwin, he just corrects any mistake that Jameis Winston makes. You put it around him, he's going to come down with it.
How about a stat on Jameis Winston? Right along the lines of exactly what you're saying is he has the highest quarterback rating in the NFL currently on tight window throws. That's not something I would think out of Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, I don't assume success in tight windows. With all those interceptions he always throws, usually he's not very good with that, man.
So think about how talented he is, just God-gifted talent with that arm strength, right?
Sure.
And throwing bullets in there. And then you have, again, Chris Godwin is just going to make you right. Just throw it around there.
Make you look good.
And not to mention Mike Evans, another guy that's just can go up and get it.
Oh, dude, they're loaded out there. And then O.J. Howard, he's been disappointing from a fantasy perspective. I know he's probably been okay blocking and everything along those lines, but just strictly statistic-wise has been a letdown for sure. But Christian McCaffrey in Carolina, he's been good as the number 2 overall fantasy pick. He's lived up to expectation, really, with catching the ball and PPR leagues and everything out there. But really, at the end of the day, man, New Orleans Saints 3-1. Winning 2 without Drew Brees. They were hoping they could go 3-3 in the 6 games. He wasn't there. Well, they're 2 for 2. So they're going to be right there at the end of it as well, man. I don't see anybody catching New Orleans.
And again, with the Buccaneers and the ceiling you have with Winston's God-given ability and then Godwin and Evans on the outside. But what's really going to keep them around is that defense. The Bucs have a great defense. They're talented on that side of the ball. And that's where they're going to be able to, if they make a run at it for the division.
Well, they better figure it out.
That's what's really going to help
them out. They've given up a ton of points in 4 weeks, but they got individual talent. It just hasn't all come together down there.
But for New Orleans, I like their defense, and offensively, they've been able to keep it. Kamara's amazing.
Sure.
Right? Utility knife. And Teddy Bridgewater, he's invested. He could have went to the Dolphins, signed a much bigger contract, wanted to stay in New Orleans because he likes being around a winning environment. And remember, he was a starter and going to be the face of the franchise for the Vikings. So he's certainly a talented guy. Not necessarily going to push it downfield a lot, but
yeah, check down Charlie.
But you don't need when you have a 3rd and 8 and you run a 12, 15-yard pattern with Mike Thomas and you throw it to his back shoulder. Look at the timing with Teddy Bridgewater. He's great at those throws.
Sure.
And having that time, being able to work with someone like Thomas that is meticulous with his preparation and working on timing with guys, and Bridgewater's mature enough to get out there and get that timing down. That's a dangerous outfit. And really, again, you're just holding on until Drew Brees comes back. So impressive start, with him being sidelined. And New Orleans is going to be there in the postseason. For sure, dude.
But the last division in the NFC and the surprise of the NFL in my eyes, the San Francisco 49ers, 3-0 so far. Did you have any idea that was coming?
No, because they played the Steelers. I don't know how they overcame that mountain of a team.
Yeah, man. Only giving up 54 points in 3 weeks, currently 3-0. Right behind them, your standard cast of characters, Seattle Seahawks, LA Rams, and then in the basement, team that's going to stay there. Kyler Murray's been impressive, but not going to be enough by himself. Arizona Cardinals 0-3-1. So we'll kind of stick to the top 3. But what do you think, man? Seahawks, Rams, they eventually outlast the Niners, or can San Fran do this over 16 weeks?
I think the Seahawks and the Rams will end up, overcoming the Niners. I don't see the Niners staying up top of the division. The Seahawks, it's just, I don't know if I would rather have the ball in anyone else's hands at the end of the game than Russell Wilson.
I know.
It's just I want to say Aaron Rodgers, but as just somehow, some way, it just seems like the Seahawks, they're just there and they just win. They find
every year, man.
They find a way to get it done. And there's a lot to be said about that. And, of course, they have plenty of talent on defense as well. Now Clowney over there.
Yeah, he scored a touchdown last Sunday.
On defense, so the Seahawks are the Seahawks. And the Rams, let's see if McVay is going to be able to just continue to scheme up things on the offense and keep them successful. That game last week with them in Tampa was unbelievable.
Was it 60-50 or something like that? It was insane.
And I'm big on the Rams and their defense. They give up 55 at home. So
there's both of your defenses giving
that concerns me.
Half 100. But the Rams with Goff and McVay, they're not going anywhere. McVay's too good of a coach. I'm not sold on Goff as a quarterback winning on the road in the postseason Super Bowl. I know he won in New Orleans, but we all know what happened there and what could have been. So there's that. But Russell Wilson and then the Niners, man. Garoppolo, right? That's Jimmy G out there dealing it with Kyle Shanahan, and
George Kittle's extremely talented. Not only can you throw to him, but hails from Iowa, and those Iowa tight ends know how to block.
Absolutely, dude. So overall, though, I will say a few more names and a few more teams could come out of this conference, in my opinion. We said in the first segment, AFC pretty much is Chiefs-Patriots. As I'm breaking down the NFC here, Packers, Bears, Saints, Seahawks, Rams, Eagles, Cowboys, any one of those teams could come out, man. I think all 6 teams who make the playoffs in the NFC may have a chance to reach the Super Bowl.
Yeah, much more fun conference to watch as far as that's concerned. A lot more guys competing for the top of that conference.
It's going to be fun to watch as we come down the stretch here. But once again, we'll take a brief break here. We'll pause for a brief word from one of our sponsors. But on the tail end, we'll get into a few different conversations around fantasy football for today, who you should start, as well as a few picks for entertainment purposes. And appreciate you guys hanging out. Stick with us here.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 0.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Welcome back, everybody, to the third and final segment of Too Close to Call, your sports talk radio show here on USALA Radio and USALA Media. I am your co-host, Kevin Mahalik, and I have been joined today by a buddy of mine, a current broadcaster for high school football and former collegiate player himself, Mr. Gareth Hissong. Gareth, I don't know, man, this has been fun today. I appreciate you coming in.
I know, coming down the home stretch here. It's been a good show so far. A lot of fun talking NFL football. I don't want it to end.
That's right, brother. That's right. So these last 10 minutes or so, we're going to have a little bit of fun. We broke down the teams. We kind of let you guys know what's going on across the league, what to look out for, but we're going to be a little bit selfish here these last 10 minutes. And maybe a little selfless at the same time, now that I'm thinking about it, because we're going to give you guys some entertainment picks, so hopefully we can all take the casino's money and go home winners today. What do you think about that, huh?
Let's see what we can do.
Right? But first and foremost, man, talking fantasy football, and some brief insight into my fantasy world here is I got two teams. One of them 3-1, and I'm in first place due to points scored, and the other one 0-4.
Yikes.
And last place due to points scored. Dude, it's terrible. I suck in this league. I don't get it, man. So basically, I'm going to ask you for a little bit of help here. And you guys listening out there, please comment in and let me know what you guys think I should do today. So basically, every week, it comes down to a few decisions within the running back room. Should we call it that? G, what do you think? The running back room here. We got Derrick Henry, Devontae Freeman, and Sonny Michel. So basically, only two of these guys can play. And Sonny Michel was disappointing early on, dude. But Devontae Freeman hasn't done anything for me this year.
Sonny Michel, he'll get some carries, but the way they spread it around in New England, it's tough for me to go with
They
him.
have Washington this week, so should score some points.
I like that matchup. Devontae, I have him on my team as well, and he's been a no-show.
They have the Texans this weekend.
And that's a tough matchup. The Falcons just, you try to get guys that are on good teams, so that's one reason I do like the Sonny Michel pick.
Would it be worth adding Jordan Howard on the waiver wire or Samuels from Pittsburgh? Which one of those two do you think will have more points going forward?
I think Samuels is going to share too much with James Conner.
Well, you got Miles Sanders in Philly with Howard.
I think Howard is going to be when the Eagles signed Howard, I thought that was great. I thought they could really lean on him, especially early, whenever they're trying to get Miles Sanders going, but they've been really trying to get Miles Sanders going. And I think there's going to be too much of a lion's share, those guys sharing touches there. I like Derrick Henry. I think he's your highest ceiling.
Yeah, he tends to be the constant. And then I decide between Michel and Freeman. So who do you think I should put in today, huh?
I like that Redskins matchup with Sonny Michel.
Probably. I think you're right, man. I think you're right. So let's make that move here.
And you couldn't convince, again, with Devontae Freeman on my team, I've been trying to give him a pep talk every week, and he just hasn't shown up.
Absolutely, dude. And traveling over to my other team here, the first place team. So good problems on this team, not bad problems like the other one. Basically, two crappy players. Who should I play? These are definitely deciding between good ones. And this week, it's Lamar Jackson at Pittsburgh or Carson Wentz versus the Jets.
Steelers have a great defense, but they've been spotty these first couple of games. They showed up against the Bengals, but who doesn't? I like Carson Wentz in this matchup. I think he's now that Alshon's back, he's in Aguilar. He'll have his drops, but he'll be there enough. Ertz is a great target. Goddard's going to hopefully get a touchdown this week. He's a great target in the red zone. I think, but mostly being able to have Alshon Jeffrey back, Carson's going to be good.
Absolutely. And then running backs, my steadies are Elliott and Gurley. However, the question is now, Eckler, running back for the Chargers, been my flex guy, putting up mad points with Melvin Gordon out. How much of a drop-off do you think we're having here? Is he worth taking out of my lineup, dude, or do you think he'll still perform because they're going to have to, kind of inch in Gordon, so to speak?
The Eckler era has been great. I think Melvin Gordon's going to be the bell cow going forward. What are your other flex options?
Other flex options, we have a couple here, man. Let's see. Josh Gordon, for a wide receiver from New England, Devontae Freeman from Atlanta, Allen Robinson from the Bears, and then Samuel, the wide receiver for the Panthers. Really is the options. I mean, out of those two, it really has kind of been, Gordon. Freeman's had to play because he's projected every week to score, dude. But as we touched on, he's been a letdown. So I don't know, dude. Eckler's projected under some of those guys.
Allen Robinson I like against the Raiders. He's a talented guy. He can go up and get it. With Chase Daniel in there, I like him even more.
That's going to be the question, is if it's going to be better or worse for Allen Robinson having Daniels in instead of Trubinsky. But all right, guys, let's see. Let's dive into our entertainment picks here. We only got a few minutes left, so we won't take a ton of time. But I decided, since Gareth's joining us, and hopefully will be again in the future, that we'll do a little bit of a game here, and we'll each give you guys 3 picks that we have for today's games, and we're putting some fun coupons on to hopefully take home some cash from these casinos now that we're legal here in Pennsylvania. So we'll each take 3 games. We'll kind of keep track, see how we're doing, and ultimately which one has the best record as we head later in the year, man. So what do you got this week? Who are the 3 you're feeling?
I'll tell you which one I really was thinking about was San Francisco minus 3.5 with the Browns coming in to Santa Clara. But I'm a little bit concerned with the Browns in that front four getting after Garoppolo, and everyone's kind of waiting to see if the 49ers can hold up. So I'm going to stay away from that one.
Okay.
I like Chiefs minus 11 at home versus the Colts. I don't think the Colts can keep up with them.
Okay.
I don't see their offense doing a lot. The Chiefs' defense. And I think that Andy Reid's going to have them scoring a lot of points, so I like them minus 11.
Yeah, if Jacoby can keep up, that's going to be a tough one. Okay, I like that. What else you got?
Next pick is Los Angeles Chargers minus 6.5. They're playing at home. Denver's coming into town.
Ooh.
Denver 0-3. This one I'm a little bit concerned about with the 6.5 points, and Denver being able to produce turnovers on defense.
Nah, just hearing that, man. I think the Chargers are going to win that game by a touchdown.
But I like the Chargers. I told you earlier to go with Cowboy Phil.
Yeah.
Always wearing those bolo ties.
There you go.
Interviews. Rivers is strong now that they have Gordon back, and they can supplement him with Eckler. Eckler's been doing great. I like the Chargers minus 6.5.
Okay. And your final one of the week.
This one is I try to stay away from the home dogs, but I like the Chicago Bears, minus 4.5, going into Oakland.
Well, that means they're favored, brother.
Right, but the Oakland being the home dogs.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's in Oakland. That's my mistake. I thought it was in Chicago.
I like taking home dogs, and it scares me to go against the home dogs.
Okay.
But I'm taking the Bears on the road in Oakland, minus 4.5.
Interesting. So you have the Bears, the Chargers, and the Chiefs.
You got it.
All right. Let's see here. No overlap this week, so that's good. That's awesome. And my first one, man, bottom of the barrel, the game nobody's going to be watching, except for me, apparently. Your winless Cardinals versus the winless Bengals. I think the Cardinals getting 3 points going on the road there, dude. Watching Cincinnati this past Monday night against Pittsburgh left a lot to be desired. And Arizona with Fitzgerald, with Murray, I know they're not good overall as a team, but I think they're better than the Bengals, and them getting points is just icing on top there for sure. Transferring right over, I'm staying with the Minshew magic. Let's ride that mustache, baby. Let's keep on riding that, baby, to winnings at the casino. They're getting 3.5 going to Carolina. Cam Newton's not going to be playing. We're going to have a backup quarterback there. I like Minshew more than I like Allen. Give me the points on the road in the division. Or no, not in the division, across the division there into the NFC. But I like the Jags. And then the last one here we have actually the Green Bay Packers on the road at the Dallas Cowboys, getting 3.5 points. I just like Aaron Rodgers in that matchup going down to Big D. He always performs well down there. He's won down there in the playoffs. Those two always play a close game for sure. Both defenses seem to be impressive, so low scoring. I would tend to think the under would hit, but Aaron Rodgers getting 3.5. I think that's something you got to take pretty much any week. When you're giving me Aaron Rodgers and points, I think we're where we need to be there.
So you're taking the points. So 3 underdogs
every time,
and
points.
They're all on the road.
Yep. I think honestly, I think all three of them may win outright. And I'm getting points. So that's how I'm feeling good. But listeners, let us know out there in the comments who you guys are taking. And if you're going to take our picks, win some money, we're going to keep track moving forward, see how we do. Hopefully we have some winning weekends. All you got to go is 2-1, baby, especially when you're taking the dogs. Win some extra cash that way. But once again, I want to thank Gareth Hissong for joining us today. He'll be back on more Sundays than not, giving his insight here in the NFL and breaking down some film and whatnot and the media perspective. So once again, thanks, Gareth, for joining us. I appreciate it here, man.
Hey, it's been a fun outing. Can't wait to come back, and let's see. Hopefully, I can pull away and get three picks.
That's it.
Hopefully, yours don't pan out, so I can start off on a big win streak.
For sure. But as I've said in the past, please do us a favor here at USALA Radio. Go out, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, both 2Close2Call as well as USALA Radio. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all of the above. We release additional episodes during the week, breaking down a bunch of different things, as well as we dabble into entertainment, music, movies, all across the board. So if you guys enjoyed this back and forth, give that a listen, subscribe. We appreciate it, and hopefully you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you on Tuesday. Peace.